Hello, my friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family. Well, guys, this is out of the Washington Examiner. Start prepping. Yes, start prepping. Electric grid prime target of terrorists. Profound threat. Saying so is the Department of Homeland Security. Well, most of us in this family, we're all prepping to some extent in whatever way we can anyway. But, this is just another reason to prep. And so a new Department of Homeland Security report warns that the electric grid is the prime target of terrorists. And some would say, is this code for something else? Is it that they really know other events are going on, whether it's a CME, solar flash, whether it's Nibiru, Nemesis, wormwood related, whatever it is. Or, we do have a lot of signs of conflict going on, and the video right after this one's going to be touching on a lot of that going on. So, there's a lot of reasons to get yourself prepped, for sure. And so Department of Homeland Security is telling us we better get our butts in gears here. And Americans are being urged to prepare for up to 6 months without electricity, transportation, fuel, money, and healthcare. Did you hear that? 6 months. This is DHS, Department of Homeland Security, telling us. Get ready for 6 months of no grid. Wow. Are you guys ready to that level? How many of you guys are ready for 6 months? Please, I'm looking forward to your comments. Because, some of you guys, we have friends that are ready for 7 years. And there are quite a few people that are out there that are like that. But the majority of people, they're probably living day to day, week to week. As far as average Americans or Europeans or Canadians or Australians, New Zealanders. People no longer keep enough essentials within their homes, reducing their ability to sustain themselves during an extended, prolonged outage. We need to improve the individual preparedness, said a just published report to President Trump. There needs to be more individual accountability for preparedness, adds the report. Surviving a catastrophic power outage from the President's National Infrastructure Advisory Council and published by the Department of Homeland Security. It looked at the potential of a power outage of up to 6 months and recommended Americans have enough supplies on hand for a minimum of 14 days, a standard for some prepper organizations. Build a culture of preparedness includes objectives to incentivize investments that reduce risk, including pre-disaster mitigation, closing the insurance gap, helping people prepare for disasters and better learn from past disasters, improve continuously and innovate, said a key recommendation. This is huge, guys. This is huge. Coming out of them telling us 6 months without the grid, we've been feeling it. We got rumors all over the internet. And this is going to just basically be confirmation for many, many people. And, definitely go through this. I'll have all the links for you guys as well. And it gets into a little bit more detail. But this report is the second one in a month to warn of a profound threat to the electric grid from terrorism and naturally occurring events like solar storms or flares. A prior government report also called for presidential action to protect the grid. That report warned of a threat to world order in an attack. Together, they draw emergency attention to the threat and impact a national blackout would have. The profound risk requires new national focus. Significant public and private action is needed to prepare for and recover from catastrophic outage that could leave large parts of the nation without power for weeks or months and cause service failures in other sectors, including water and wastewater, communications, transportation, healthcare, financial services, etc., etc. And what is a catastrophic power outage? Events beyond modern experience that exhaust or exceed mutual aid capabilities. Likely to be no notice or limited notice events that could be complicated by a cyber physical attack. long duration lasting several weeks to months due to physical infrastructure damage affecting a broad geographic area covering multiple states and regions and affecting tens of millions of people. Causes severe cascading impacts that force critical sectors, drinking water, wastewater systems, communication, transportation, healthcare, financial services to operate in a degraded state. So it also calls for federal spending instead of a reliance on rate hikes by individual utilities to fix their systems. There's so much going on here. How much more warning do we need that it's coming? It's coming. And so, I'm going to another level with preparations, and honestly, I'm getting nauseous on all the money that I've gone and spent really recently thinking about it, but I really feel we are really close, perhaps imminent. And it might not be today, tomorrow, next week, maybe not even this month, but we are close. We are very close. We just have to look at all the clues they're giving us. We see everything going on geopolitically as well as the signs in the skies of what's up there, and everything from the Earth changes, Grand Solar Minimum, Nibiru, you name it. We got so much stuff going on. These times are crazy and unprecedented. So, I think people should prepare as much as they can. And so today was the first day I ventured out after the storm, which was pretty intense. And, basically stocked up on things like hydrogen peroxide, bandages, antiseptic stuff. Just going back through again and thinking, well, what could I use more of? Like if I was going to stock up for 2 or 3 years worth or what have you. Things like hydrogen peroxide is really cheap. Alcohol, rubbing alcohol, bandages, tape, gauze, all sorts of things like that. First aid stuff. Do you have enough, ibuprofen, aspirin, whatever it is, painkillers? We had talked about generators before. And basically, my plan is a inverter generator, which gives you smoother, cleaner electric, more efficient, more mobile, only about 46 pounds, typically under 50 pounds. Not as powerful as a standard generator, but much more flexible. And then also having a standard generator, having both, just in case, because the inverter generator has a computer chip in it. So if we have an EMP, something along those lines, it might get fried. In which case, the regular generator is basically just like an engine. And the other thing is too. I mean, seriously, was just thinking about how do I build a Faraday cage to keep them in, basically, and just in case of EMP, because it's something that could happen. Or CME. We could really have a lot of our electronics fried. So all this coming out from the federal government is just another big bucket of cold water over our heads telling us, wake up guys, get going. Stuff is coming. It's right upon us. And we keep seeing more scientific reports talking about the Earth's magnetic field decaying at an alarming rate. If you guys hadn't seen this before, many people have been quoting this, so I just thought I'd bring it up and give you the PDF. Basically, I'll give you the CIA report. It is a PDF. It's Chan Thomas, the Adam and Eve story. And so this was classified. This is crazy. This was classified. And this is a sanitized copy approved for release. And so on 6/24/2013, this was actually written way before that. But it's been hidden and classified, and this is off of www.cia.gov library. So this is from the CIA, and basically it gets into pole shift, what happens with pole shift, and how unfortunately so much life on the surface does not fare well. And so this paints a really grim catastrophic situation that is not too far away from the movie 2012 when you get down to it. So I'll let you guys I hope you will peruse this and go through this, because it's pretty scary, and if we jump up over to page 45, where you start getting into conclusions, and there's things that you're going to want to be aware of, like it will not be safe on the coasts, period. If we have what's called crustal displacement, an actual physical pole shift, and just in the last year, I have seen so many people go from stating there's not going to be crustal displacement, in which the actual crust shifts, just like if you cut away the white part in an orange, so that the inside could shift independently of the outside. So the Earth's crust would actually shift, move, which would cause huge tidal waves, tremendous inundations. It's a big question mark as to how high up would you have to be to survive. Huge, huge question mark. But now you see people talking about openly, even scientists, and they even pointed out recently that the Earth has moved physically. Not just a magnetic shift, but a physical shift, which does mean those catastrophic inundations. And if you're on the coast, not good. Chances are there'll be massive tsunamis if that's the case. And so basically, this is what this gets into. And it's all very interesting, very fascinating. I'll let you guys go through it. Just in case you haven't heard of it, many people in our family have heard of it. I've actually done a whole video on it previously, or the majority of a video on it. It's 57-page read, interesting. It was classified, and basically is talking about a pole shift. So again, when we look back at what they're doing now, they're telling us start prepping. The grid's going down. Some say they are pushing us off the coasts because they want the coast for themselves, and others say they're pushing us off the coast because they know the coasts are not going to be safe. And so perhaps perhaps it's both. Who knows? But if you haven't started, start. It's, we are definitely in the midst of unusual times. So this was originally reported as like 7.5, and now USGS downgraded to 7.1, and this earthquake hit the South Sandwich Islands, which you don't get them that big down there all that often. It is basically what Dutch would call a termination zone, so that's where energy tends to go to get diffused. And I think Dutch did predict this one, as many people had said. And it's Dutch Sense, which I know probably 90% of you guys know. So this one is at 102 mile depth, 164 kilometer depth, and there's no people living within 100 kilometers of the area. Based on the data, there was no tsunami threat, but still a large quake, most definitely. And we look over here, we have more worrisome news, and the Ebola. They say the Ebola vaccine's having a quote-unquote major impact, but worries about the Congo outbreak are growing, especially because it's in actually a major city of over 1 million people now. And many people actually believe it's by the vaccines that it spreads, and that the WHO is not really that benevolent. And so, this is still ongoing, and that is the truth with a lot of people that live in the area. They're afraid of getting that vaccine. And we've talked about all the fireballs, and we have another one. This one's over San Antonio and Austin, Texas. And this was seen and recorded streaking through the night sky over southern Texas, 1959 CST on December 10th. It lasted 7 seconds before the object disappeared with a bright flash. And so we've seen a lot of these, a real lot. And this is a great surprise. NASA's OSIRIS-REx, they love doing this, don't they? Don't they just love naming things after the ancient gods? So OSIRIS-REx, Osiris King, has already discovered water on Bennu. Just days after NASA's OSIRIS-REx spacecraft reached the distant asteroid Bennu, it's already sent back groundbreaking data revealing the asteroid contains water. Less than a week after completing the 2-year, 1.2 billion-mile journey from Earth to Bennu, the OSIRIS-REx has revealed Bennu is water-rich. And so, they've been giving us a slow trickle of information regarding the amount of life that exists out there, because this universe was created for life. It's for consciousness to explore. So life is abundant out there. There is just an abundance of life. And if it's on asteroids and comets that impact planets, that's just kind of like a sperm going into a egg, is it not? And bringing life and everything necessary for life to perhaps places that didn't have life, but will. And we have a miracle excavation of Littlefoot skeleton reveals mysterious human relative. And it's really fascinating how many different hominids exist going back on the human family tree, and how many dead ends there are that just end up dying off. And you have to wonder, is it all natural selection, quote unquote? Remember, Darwin was a 33rd degree Mason, and so we've been given a lot of things to believe, and a lot of times what they'll do, I feel, is that they give us partial truths. And that's the same thing with the whole Darwinian theory of evolution. But let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater and say there's no such thing as evolution at the same time. Some people go to that extreme. But obviously in this planet, at least to me, it feels like there's both creation and evolution going on. Following an epic 20-year-long excavation in South Africa, researchers finally recovered and cleaned the nearly complete skeleton of an ancient human relative, an approximately 3.67 million-year-old hominin named Littlefoot. Littlefoot is likely a previously unknown species, the researchers said. So the findings reveal it likely walked upright on 2 feet and probably had a nearly lifelong injury on her left arm. Successful 2-decade-long excavation of Littlefoot was almost a miracle. Talk about patient. 2 decades getting that skeleton out of there? Wow. So yeah, because the bones themselves were softer than the rocks surrounding them. And so, just another one. So it was of the genus Australopithecus, much like Lucy, but a different subspecies. And so pretty interesting. It was about 4 foot 3 inches tall, an adult female, and a vegetarian to boot. Pretty interesting stuff, really. So are these, when we look at all these different quote-unquote dead ends, are we looking at experiments, perhaps? Or are we looking at natural evolution? It's all pretty interesting, and with the fact that we don't ever get really straight answers from the powers that be, it just makes it all the more mysterious but yet intriguing. So my friends, as always, please do thumbs up, support the channel, subscribe, click the bell so you get all notifications, stay abreast of everything that's going on. And please do share. Let's wake up our brothers and sisters out there, get them preparing as best as they can, because the writing is on the wall, guys. Get ready for life without the grid. Probably sometime, definitely within your and my lifetime, perhaps right around the corner. As always, my friends, God bless and namaste.